Hello everyone, my name is Narayan Annamalai. I'm here to talk to you about what's new in Azure Network Security. So without further delay, let's jump in. The global pandemic has changed our lives forever. On the back end of it, a huge digital transformation has taken place. The assets from on-premises has moved to the cloud. What that means is the traditional network security boundaries have disappeared. Customers now need cloud-native security tools to protect their assets. The way we work has changed. More than 65% of us now work from home, but we still need access to the corporate resources. So it's been quite a challenge for organizations to protect the personal devices with which we connect. On top of all this, the internet-based attacks has increased. Just in the last year, we have had 50% more attacks than usual. Nobelium and Colonial Pipeline are just a few to name that we have seen in the news, but there are more sophisticated attacks that are happening every day. This makes it difficult to defend against threats. The threat landscape has continued to evolve. And on top of that, organizations lack skilled security personnel and must keep up with evolving data privacy and industry regulations. This new reality requires a zero-trust approach to security. Microsoft has a holistic approach to zero trust-based architecture. This should extend to the entire digital estate. We can do this by focusing on 6 foundational elements. Everything starts with the identity. Having a strong identity management provides the foundation for zero trust. There is identity, there is endpoints, and then there is data that the customers store, the apps that use the data, the infrastructure that runs on the app, and the network. For today's conversation, we will focus on the network. So, network is kind of the center that glues everything together. And it's also typically what is operationally the most challenging for customers. When you think about network, there are really 3 main things. First is to segmentation. Customers should always think about segmenting the network into smaller parts so that they can prevent lateral movements. Next is having a really good way to have threat prevention and protection against threat. Lastly, we need to have data encrypted that flows between the systems. Now let's see how we can do this today. When you think about segmentation, it's really about breaking the deployment down into smaller islands and having controls specifically on those islands, both ingress and egress. By doing such a model, it will make the bad actors to penetrate to other parts. And for threat protection, we need something that can be very reactive because threats are happening all the time and there are new and sophisticated ones. And with respect to encryption, we have a number of tools with which data could be encrypted. Customer applications can use things like SSL and TLS to encrypt the data. And when they're connecting from on-premises, they can use things like VPN gateway to encrypt the data. And within the cloud, Azure offers a number of different ways to encrypt the data. Now, we're going to see the different Azure products and how you can use them to achieve a zero trust-based network security. Microsoft provides a comprehensive set of services to achieve this. And again, I'm just listing out the ones I'm going to talk about today and classify them as to where will they help you with, in segmentation or threat protection or encryption. Let's start with the Virtual Network Manager. Like we said, segmentation is a key aspect of a zero trust architecture. So you should look at having your workloads group into smaller islands and having security control for each of those islands. Now, as you grow, the footprint grows. There'll be a number of such islands, and maintaining an uniform security posture across all of this could become quite challenging. The Azure VNet Manager is created to help with just that. So with a VNet Manager, you can group these individual islands or VNets together, both at a subscription level, across subscriptions, as well as across management groups. Once you create these groups, you would be able to define a common security policy to apply to these groups, as well as a common connectivity policy on how these groups talk to one another. So it just gives the administrators and the security network admins more control and ease of use. It also gives 2 unique value props. One, as the workloads come on, they'll automatically inherit the security policies defined for their group. And the admins can define the grouping in a dynamic way such that a new VNet automatically joins the group. And every workload that's getting deployed into this VNet will automatically inherit these security policies. Additionally, when a high-risk event has happened, it's very easy to do an emergency patching because using a single click, a port could be blocked across the entire customer's deployment. So the VNet Manager really makes network segmentation easier to manage. Moving along, Private Link has been there now for a few years, and Private Link is a very useful tool to secure the past resources from internet exposure. While it still does that very well, with the announcement of support for network security groups and user-defined routes, customers can now segment their networks better and more secure and restrict access to the sparse resources. Like we already talked about, everything cannot be trusted within a network. The whole zero trust approach is about explicit verification and zero implicit trust, which means threats could start or happen from inside the network. So it's very important to segregate this network and only allow certain parts of the network access to the data. So with NSG on a private endpoint, only certain elements of the network could be allowed to access the private endpoint. And with user-defined routing, more appliances could be brought in line before even access is allowed for a particular app or a user. So by using these controls, you can enhance the segmentation or the micro-segmentation posture for your deployments. Azure Bastion is another key service that customers should use to prevent exposure to internet for the virtual machines. Everyone needs access to RDP or SSH. That's completely understandable, but there doesn't have to be a need to expose the VMs to the internet for that. Using a Bastion service, customers can connect through secure SSL means to the Bastion, and Bastion can then connect privately to all these virtual machines. What we are announcing new here is that Bastion can now work across multiple VNets. So with a single Bastion service, you could reach all the VMs across peered VNets as well. So this makes it easier for customers to configure and deploy and maintain and manage. So this is another important element of how you prevent internet-based threats from even entering your deployment. Now, as we talk about internet-based attacks and threats, it's super important for us to think about DDoS-based attacks. Now, recently, all of us know that the attacks have increased both in volume as well as the sophistication of the attacks. Recently, Microsoft successfully mitigated a large DDoS attack that was aimed at a property that was running in Azure. This attack was of the size of 3.4 terabits, but Azure DDoS prevented it, and it was business as usual for customers. Now, while DDoS is great at preventing volumetric-based attacks, it's also important that in scenarios like gaming, you have to have the DDoS protection that is inline. You don't have a lot of time for the attack to happen and then mitigate it. The attack should be mitigated as and when they're happening. To do this, we're announcing something called as Gateway Load Balancer, which is going to bring services in line very easily. So using this Gateway Load Balancer, traffic coming from internet could be directed to go through an appliance for further inspection before it is allowed to access the game servers. And when the inspection is happening by a partner NVA, it will also inspect for DDoS-based attacks. And if the traffic appears to be malicious, it will be dropped right there and won't even be sent to the game servers. So using this mechanism of Gateway Load Balancer, the security posture for these applications could be increased a lot by providing an inline DDoS, or even advanced firewall could be deployed on the path. Now, the other element to complete the internet-based threat and attacks is Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall, as you all may know, is a fully managed cloud-native firewall solution, which the standard version has been there in the market for a few years. What we're announcing now is the premium version. The premium version is a full next-generation firewall that has a full IDS IPS implementation inbuilt in it. Along with that, it also has the ability to scan the payload for more than 58,000 signatures of malware. So by putting the Azure Firewall in between your workload and the internet, you can prevent a lot of these internet-based attacks from even entering into your deployments. The Azure Firewall could also be used to protect and inspect traffic that is flowing between Azure and on-premises, or even between virtual networks in Azure. The Azure Firewall Premium is now available in all the regions, and it's also 5x more performant from a throughput standpoint. And so along with Azure Firewall and Azure DDoS standard versions, there's a lot of threat protection that customers can get. Azure Firewall Manager is a management tool that's going to make the security management much easier. Azure Firewall Manager was previously only managing Azure firewalls across the customer's fleet. Now Azure Firewall Manager can also manage the DDoS profiles, and very soon the WAF ones too. So this is going to be a single place dashboard from where all of the security controls could be configured and maintained and managed. So this is going to make it easier for customers to operate. Now we talked about a lot of the network segmentation aspect and threat-based aspects. We should also now look at, for web-based workloads, what protections customers can leverage in Azure. I want to start with Azure Front Door. Azure Front Door is the layer 7 load balancer or the edge-based load balancer that we have in Azure. Now, this was giving a lot of performance enhancements for applications. While it continues to do that, the latest version that is in preview right now, which is the Azure Front Door Premium, also has enhanced security. A key feature I like to highlight is the private link integration. With the private link integration, the origin servers could be kept completely private. While the front door is exposing the endpoint to the internet, it can terminate the SSL traffic or HTTPS traffic right there and then connect privately to the origin servers. So by keeping the origin servers completely private, customers can now avoid any kind of DDoS attacks or internet-based attacks directly onto the origin servers. So all of that would be handled by the front door, and customers don't have to worry about mitigating against those in their origin servers. So that's a key benefit. So this Azure Front Door Premium is in preview, and we'll encourage customers to try this. So along with Azure Front Door, in fact, we have an integrated WAF that goes with Azure Front Door. But WAF can also be leveraged both with Front Door as well as Application Gateway. Now, what's new with WAF is we have a lot of newer rule sets that we have built into the WAF product. In addition to the rule sets, both the analytics and the security postures have also been increased. We now have Microsoft-based rules also added to the Azure Front Door WAF. So combining WAF with the Front Door solution provides the full protection for applications that are exposed to the web when they're running in Azure. Also excited to announce that a recent study from Forrester, where they interviewed the customers and finding out the return of investments the customers have on the expenditure that they have on network security, we found out that customers have like several millions of dollars of savings employing a network security, cloud-native network security-based solution. We have found that they can save almost a month of time in deployment, and over 35% of expenditure that they actually spend on on-premises cloud solutions could be saved by using cloud-native solutions. So as important as it is to have a zero trust-based architecture and a cloud-native security solution, there's also good return of investments when customers invest on this. We like to kind of also highlight a recent case study that we did with the customer, where it was quite clear that by adopting a more integrated approach that Microsoft provides, has been a lot more beneficial than having to go and individually select and set up the security solutions on premises, like firewalls and whatnot. With Microsoft, everything is provided in an integrated manner and one place shop, and this has been a hugely beneficial with respect to their management and has simplified the process a whole lot. In summary, I would like to remind that customers should look at security in new lights. They should adopt a zero trust-based approach in securing their assets. And to recap, they should look at segmentation and adhere to the principles of having smaller islands which has full ingress-egress controls and restricting the need for these islands to talk to one another, avoiding internet exposure as much as possible. And if at all, when the workloads have to talk to one another, putting the right level of east-west controls between them, like firewalls or proper network security rules. And then ensuring that when the traffic goes out, it's going on an encrypted channel. And having a good threat detection and threat mitigation is essential by using products like DDoS and Firewall whenever there is any communication with internet is super important. And lastly, when there are applications that have to be exposed to the web, using a secure app delivery mechanism combined with WAF at the front door would be what is required to fully secure the customer's deployments. And to end with, I'll also like to provide these different links of sessions that are going deeper into these technologies. So it will be good for you to listen into them. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching and have a great day.